Today we're going to remove the factory rear bumper from this 2019 new body style GMC Sierra 1500. We'll also remove all of the important components that are going to port over to our new aftermarket bumper. This is the same process for the Silverado. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so we're underneath the truck on the passenger side, right behind the bumper. Here's the spare tire. We're going to travel up this harness. Up at the top of the harness, we're going to have a little red clip. You might not be able to see that, but what you're going to need to do is pull that red clip back and then push the button, wiggle that harness loose. Okay, now we're also going to turn to our trailer harness. The way we're going to disconnect that, this little white clip gets pulled back. Then again, we're just going to push on a button and disconnect it. All right, now if we follow this harness here, this plugs into a module that's attached to the bumper. We need to go ahead and disconnect the two fasteners that are holding this in place to the bumper. Now we can go ahead and disconnect this module by pushing in on the bottom and then pulling straight down. All right, now we've already got the license plate removed. This is what we just unplugged from this module. And just so you can see, this is the tab that you push in on to pull down on and disconnect that. Next, we're gonna go to this module here. We've got a little red tab we pull down on, and then we can push the tab and pull it out. Okay, so now we're back up underneath the bumper. We're on the passenger side. Underneath the bumper, we've got two places where it's actually bolted down to the frame horn. We've got two nuts that are in place. We're going to need to remove those with an 18 millimeter. All right, next, this bracket coming from the frame down to the bumper, we need to remove that. We're going to use a 13 millimeter, pull that out. And following the bracket up to the top, we're going to use a 21 millimeter to back this nut off of this bolt. All right, with that bracket out of the way, repeat the exact same process on the opposite side. All right, now the only thing holding this bumper in place is these two bolts right here. So as I pull those out, it'll be resting on top of this hitch. So you want to either have someone helping you out or just be really careful with it as you pull it off. I'm going to use a 13 millimeter to remove these. Okay, for the center portion, I've gone ahead and released all of the clips that hold the harness in place. Now I'm going to go ahead and take out these components that we're going to be porting over. So here is our trailer hitch adapter. To get that out, we're just going to take our pry bar, push on the side of it, on either side where the clips are, and then this is just going to go right through the front. We're going to port that over to a new bumper. Next, we have a module bracket. We've got two modules that are attached to this bracket. That's also going to go to our new bumper. I'm just going to take a pair of pliers and just squeeze these clips together, and they'll push straight through. And bring that over. All right, now for your spare tire tube, what you're going to do is this little tab right here, push in on that tab, and it just kind of floats down, and then pop this other tab in. The whole thing pops out. All right, next I'm going to show you how to do this side. The exact same thing happens on the opposite side. First, I'm going to go to the tag light. We've got a bolt holding that in place. We're going to remove that with a 7 millimeter. It's typically not very tight, so I think I can just, I can get that out by hand without even using a ratchet. All right, And we're just going to kind of break that loose. That's all still connected to the harness. All right, next, this is going to be your sensor. All your sensors are going to come out the exact same way. Basically, you want to grip the sensor here and then pull slightly on the plastic housing just to pry it apart and wiggle the sensor out. Be really careful though, you don't want to snap that housing. Once that comes out, make sure you keep the little silicone ring that goes around the face of the sensor. And next, what we're going to do is we're going to squeeze the tabs and push the sensor housing through the front of the bumper. All right, now I've got a module over here that also ports over to my new bumper. I've got a couple of bolts holding that in place. This is an option, not every truck's gonna have this, but I'm gonna use a 7mm to take these two bolts out. Next, I'm just going to kind of pull this through. You're gonna see the harness come through along with it. Now on this harness, I've got a little red clip. I'm gonna pull out on the red clip, push in on the tab, and wiggle that harness loose. I'm just going to let the harness stay right here for right now. I've got two fasteners that are holding that harness in place from the back side. So I'm going to use my pry tool and get those fasteners loose. Now underneath this bracket, it's going to be very hard to see, but I've got one more sensor. You just have to get your hands underneath there and wiggle that out the same way the first sensor came out. All right, now that I've done both sides, I'm going to go ahead and completely pull the harness free from the bumper and set it to the side. All right, since I've got the split rear exhaust tips, I can now reach underneath here. I've got a bolt here and one on the opposite side of this tip. I'm gonna pull those both out with a 10mm. All right, and the last bolt I'm going to take out is right here. I saved that one for last because this one kind of holds everything still while I'm taking out the other two. Also 10mm. Repeat the same process on the opposite side. Well, that's the entire process. If you have any questions, call the experts or visit us online.